Close call. Inside the four walls of a Montego Bay call center. The atmosphere in the Apex Communications building always gave a feeling of politeness. Rows of low-walled cubicles stretched out under bright, fluorescent lights. Sitting inside of each cubicle was a regular individual who would instantly snap into an upbeat and perky agent once they heard the beep in their ear. It was now time to give a sense of assurance and security to whomever was on the other end of the line. It was a high-pressure environment, especially for me as a Tier 2 compliance support agent, but nothing compared to managing the two secret relationships that I had been juggling inside these company walls. Leo sat in the cubicle directly in front of mine, and in the call center world, your neighbor is your quickest lifeline. Leo was charming and witty, always seemed to easily gain the trust of his customers. He was also the king of the mute button. While a customer was screaming about a late billing statement, Leo would peep over the partition, mimic the customer's outrage with silent, exaggerated mouth movements, and make you choke back on a laugh while you yourself was on a call. As close as we sat to each other, most of our conversations were through internal instant messages. Leo messaged at 10:14 a.m. "If this lady says refund one more time, I'm walking into the sea." I replied, "Stay strong. Only 6 hours until the weekend." 10:18 a.m., Leo messaged, "Meet me in the stairway for a system update in 5. The stairway was the only place without cameras. There, you only hear the handles of the heavy emergency exit doors on each floor, and the stress of the average handle time, AHT, vanishes. It was like a quick escape for agents. Leo was easygoing, fun, and shared the same frustrating moments that came with the job. While Leo was the escape from the work, Sarah was the work. Sarah was the account manager. She was middle-aged, sharp-suited, and carried an aura of absolute authority. She was the one who decided who got the holiday shifts and who got the performance bonuses. To the rest of the floor, she was the ice queen. To me, she was something entirely different. It started with a performance audit session in her glass-walled office that overlooked the sea of headsets. "Your metrics are slipping, T," she said, her voice low and professional, while her hand reached across the desk to brush mine. "I think you need some private coaching." Sarah didn't want the quick, rushed energy of the stairway. She wanted control. She would use her admin access to put me in the special projects queue, essentially freezing my phone line so I wouldn't receive calls, and summon me to her office. Behind those blinds, the power dynamic shifted. She was the boss, but in those moments, she was also mine. Each day was a thrill. I was living in a constant state of tactical maneuvering. On the morning shift, I'd grab coffee with Leo. Feeling the brush of his shoulder against mine in the lunchroom gave me goosebumps, and him whispering about what he's going to do to me after the shift sends tingles throughout my body. The perfect way to start each day. The afternoon lull of calls meant there was lots of availability in the queue, and Sarah would send an email with the subject line, "Discrepancy in T2 compliance logs," a coded invitation to her office. I'd walk away from my desk feeling Leo's eyes on me until I entered Sarah's office. When I returned, I would be flooded with internal I miss both from Sarah and Leo. One told me about the coaching session we just had, and the other about how he missed my presence in front of him, even though I was only gone for about 15 to 20 minutes. I had to be vigilant when replying to them. One window for Leo, one window for Sarah. One slip-up, one "I really love the taste of your lips" sent to the wrong person, and the whole house of cards would collapse. One Tuesday, the pressure peaked. A massive outage at our sister company overseas sent the call volume into the red. Everyone was needed on the phones. All break and lunch were suspended until we cleared the queue. Leo was stressed, leaning over the top of my cubicle to help me with a technical glitch on my system, his hand lingering on mine. At that exact moment, Sarah was walking the floor. She stopped, her eyes like flint, watching Leo's proximity to me. "T," Sarah said, her voice cutting through the noise of 100 conversations on the phones. "My office. Now, we need to discuss your technical difficulties." In the office, Sarah closed the blinds with a sharp snap. "He's too close to you," she said, leaning against her desk. "It's unprofessional." "He was just helping with a ticket, Sarah," I replied, with a nervous tone of voice. The irony wasn't lost on me, being scolded for unprofessionalism by the woman who was currently locking her office door. "I don't like it," she whispered, pulling me in while reaching for a drawer on her desk. That specific drawer had a few of her favorite little battery assistants. 20 minutes later, I walked back out to the floor, adjusting my headset. Leo was waiting. He had sent me an IM. "You okay? She's riding you hard today." If only he knew I thought with a smile, and replied, "Yes, but I'm okay. Meet me at the car at lunch?" I looked over my cubicle and smiled while nodding my head to say yes. Then I looked across the floor toward Sarah's office through the glass of the office, and Sarah was watching me, her expression unreadable. I was caught between the man who made the job bearable and the woman who made the job possible. Leo and I had brought lunch, so at lunchtime we warmed them up in the microwave and headed to his car to eat, and let's just say we were each other's midday dessert. It was almost time to log back in. "We'll finish this after work," said Leo softly. "Most definitely," I replied in an even softer tone while biting my bottom lip. As my watch vibrated to signal the end of the shift, the floor erupted into the sound of chairs scuffing along the floor and headsets being dropped on agents' desks. Before I could exit the floor, Sarah called me and said she needed a small group of us for a special assignment and asked if I could come in tomorrow. I told her yes. I walked to the parking lot. The cool evening air was a relief after 8 hours of the recycled oxygen on the call floor. Leo was leaning against his car with his usual smile on his face. But as I approached, I saw Sarah's black SUV parked just a few spaces away. She wasn't leaving. She was just sitting there, windows down, music playing low and watching the two of us as if she was thinking of a master plan. Leo didn't know about Sarah, but she knew about him. However, she couldn't say anything without exposing herself. I stood in the middle, the center of both their worlds. "You coming?" Leo asked, opening the passenger door for me. I looked at him, then back at Sarah. I realized that in this call center, the most complicated calls weren't the ones that came in on my headset. They were the ones I was making with my heart. The Saturday morning shift was the ghost of the work week. The bustling chaos of 200 agents was replaced by a skeleton crew of 12. The hum of the air conditioner was louder than the voices on the phones. Because of a system upgrade error, Sarah had asked if Leo and I could work a double shift, which would see us staying overnight to manually audit accounts. We agreed since the pay for the weekend was rather attractive. It would see us getting double for each shift, plus the overnight shift premium. This was almost a week's pay for this 24-hour period. At about 10 p.m., I made a quick scan of the floor and realized that it was just us three. For a moment, I caught Leo staring at me. When our eyes made four, he quickly looked away. Leo wasn't a fool. He had spent months watching and analyzing me, and T2 call center workers are trained to notice patterns, inconsistencies, along with other stuff. He noticed how my away-from-desk status always seemed to be me in Sarah's office, with the blinds and door closed. He noticed that while everyone else got grilled for a 3 minutes bathroom break, my metrics were always adjusted by Sarah without question. "She's staring again," Leo whispered, leaning over my shoulder to look at a spreadsheet. He wasn't looking at the data, he was looking at the reflection in my monitor. Also in the reflection, Sarah was visible, standing at the edge of the raised platform, her arms crossed, her eyes locked on the back of Leo's head. "She's just stressed about the audits, Leo," I said with a low, nervous tone. "Every time I touch your hand or even stand too close, she looks like she wants to fire me or throw me into the sea. Does she know about us?" Leo asked with a genuine curious look in his eyes. "Focus on the T2 accounts, Leo," I silently replied. At midnight, Sarah suggested that we all take a lunch break. The three of us sat at a circular plastic table in the lunchroom. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of Sarah opening her salad container. "Leo, I noticed your AHT was a bit high on yesterday's batch of audits. You seemed distracted." Leo leaned back with a defiant grin on his face. "Just making sure T had the right promo codes, Sarah. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?" Sarah didn't blink. She turned her gaze to me. "T, I think the workload is becoming too much for you, or maybe you need some coaching. Yes, after lunch, I'll be coaching you in my office. Leo can finish the data entry from the South Pod." The South Pod was at the complete opposite end of the building. It was a clear exile. Leo's smile faded. "The South Pod? The AC isn't even working over there. Why split us up? I thought we were working great together." "Because I'm the manager, Leo," Sarah said, her voice dropping into that Ice Queen character that usually made agents tremble. "And I've decided that your influence on T's productivity has become a liability." The tension snapped when Leo stood up. "I'm not going to the South Pod." He looked from Sarah to me, the realization finally dawning on him. The away from desk statuses, the adjusted times for going over your break, the way you smelled like Sarah's expensive perfume after a coaching session. "It's not really about coaching, is it?" Leo asked, his voice echoing in the empty lunchroom. "You're not just her boss. You're her... The two of you are together." Sarah's expression didn't change, but her hand tightened around her fork. "Careful, Leo. Defamation is a fireable offense," Sarah said in a cheeky way. "It's not defamation if it's true," Leo countered, turning to me. "T? Is that why you were never available to go out on weekends? Because you were busy with coaching from the boss?" I sat frozen. The two people who occupied every secret corner of my life were finally standing in the same room, stripping away the lies. "Leo, please," I whispered. "I'm not going to the South Pod," Leo said, looking back at Sarah. "And I'm not going back to my desk. If you want me to keep quiet about what's happening on the call floor, we're going to have to change the rules of these coaching sessions." Sarah stood up, smoothing out her skirt. She walked around the table until she was standing between me and Leo. The manager mask was gone, replaced by something far more predatory and calculating. "The rules," Sarah said, looking at Leo, then slowly turning her gaze to me, "are whatever I say they are. If you want to stay in this building, and if you want to stay in T's life, you'll realize that I don't like losing, but I suppose I can be persuaded to share." The air in the room shifted. It was no longer a workplace dispute. It was a negotiation. Leo looked at Sarah, then at me. The anger in his eyes was being replaced by pure curiosity. "Share?" Leo silently asked. "We can have a coaching session tonight," Sarah said, in a low, seductive tone. She looked at the security camera in the corner of the lunchroom and clicked a remote in her pocket. The red light on the camera went dark. And I think it's time we all became very well acquainted with each other's work styles. Let's go back to the floor. Upon entering the floor, Sarah touched the light switch at the door, and the fluorescent lights of the main floor flickered off, leaving only the dim, bluish glow of the T2 Command Center monitors. The rest of the world was asleep, but inside the glass walls of Sarah's office, the atmosphere was electric and buzzing with curiosity. The coaching began. Sarah sat in her high-backed leather chair, reached for her drawer, and pulled out one of her battery-operated assistants, while Leo and I stood on either side of her desk. For the first couple of minutes, we were a bit tense, but quickly got in the mood after seeing Sarah becoming super aroused and her jelly bean pulsating like it was about to jump off her body. "Are you two just going to stare at my spreadsheet for the entire time?" "Join me," she whispered, and we both did. The office, usually a place of rigid KPIs and corporate discipline, was transformed from that night, at least for us three. Sarah was in tune with Leo's boldness and loved the fact that he showed no respect for her as his boss. As a matter of fact, he operated like he had some pent-up feeling inside him for years towards her and was now expressing himself. Sarah leaned in, her voice a whisper against our ear. "I've spent a year watching you two on the production floor cameras, and I never imagined I'd be sharing two Tier 2 agents." "Maybe this Tier 2 agent has a few things he can teach the boss lady," Leo added, while his hand was sliding from Sarah's shoulder to her waist. "Oh," Sarah said softly as she began to make it rain inside her office. "Leo, I never knew you were this good of a worker," Sarah said in between trying to catch her breath. "Oh yes, he is," I replied softly, while leaning in to taste her lips. As the hours ticked toward 3 a.m., the professional hierarchy dissolved completely. The office became a regular place where the rules of Apex Communications no longer applied. There was a strange, intoxicating synergy in the room. Every touch was heightened by the risk and the looming threat of the morning shift that's about to start. Also the knowledge that the three of us had crossed a line from which there was no return. For a moment, the stress of the call center, the angry customers, the metrics, the average handle time, was replaced by a singular, intense focus on the two people in the room with me. I enjoyed every moment. It was the best coaching session I have ever had. The sun began to peep through the window blinds, casting long amber stripes across the office carpet. The coaching was technically finished, the files saved and encrypted. Sarah was back in her chair, adjusting her blazer, her face returning to its mask of professional composure. Leo was leaning against the doorframe, his hair slightly disheveled, watching me with a look that was no longer just about a work wife. It was the look of a co-conspirator. "The morning crew will be here in an hour," Sarah said, as she reached to plug in a Vanilla Glade plug-in, her voice crisp, though her eyes remained soft as they lingered on me. "Leo, go down to the lunchroom. Get some coffee. Look like you've been working on those logs all night." Leo nodded, glancing at me one last time before slipping out of the office. Sarah turned her chair toward me. "This changes everything, T. Monday morning, when the floor is full and the phones start ringing, we're going to have to be very, very careful." I looked out at my empty cubicle, then back at my manager. I wasn't just an employee anymore. I was part of a secret triad that owned the night shift, and the work week was never going to feel the same again. The Monday morning rush at Apex Communications was a sensory assault. The silence of the weekend had been replaced by the frantic energy of 200 agents caffeinated to the brink of madness. For me, the transition was jarring. My body was still tingling from the three-way coaching session in Sarah's office, but my brain had to snap back into senior compliance mode. I walked into the building at 7:55 a.m. Sarah was already there, standing in the center of the floor like a statue of corporate discipline. She didn't look at me. She was berating a trainee about their login time. To anyone else, she was the same ice queen. To me, the sight of her in that sharp blazer was a stark contrast to how she had looked just 24 hours ago. Leo was at his desk, his headset already on. When I walked past, he didn't make a joke. He didn't even look up. He was typing furiously, his face a mask of focus. The silence among the three of us was a masterpiece of acting, not knowing that there was a problem looming over our heads. The problem was called Maya. Maya was a quality assurance lead. It was her job to listen to calls, but her hobby was observing people. She sat in a corner cubicle, a perfect vantage point where she could see the entire floor, and she had the instincts of a hawk. By 10:30 a.m., I was feeling rather edgy. I was at the water cooler when Maya appeared beside me, her eyes narrowed behind thick-rimmed glasses. "Morning, T," Maya said, her voice casual. Too casual. "You look tired. Rough weekend?" "Just a lot of data entry on the migration project," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "Right. The migration project," Maya said, swirling her tea. "Funny thing, I was looking at the login badges on the system this morning to verify some overtime. You, Leo, and Sarah all clocked out at the exact same time on Sunday morning, 5:15 a.m. My heart skipped a beat. We were finishing the audit. Sarah wanted it done before the Monday shift. "I'm sure," Maya smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "It's just, I didn't know Leo was part of the audit team, and I noticed the security camera in the lunchroom went offline for 4 hours during your shift. Technical glitch, I assume?" "Must have been," I said silently. The pressure cooker intensified during the lunch hour. I was sitting at a corner table when Leo joined me. A second later, Sarah walked in. Usually, Sarah would never sit with the commoners, but today she sat at the table directly behind mine. "Don't look at her," I whispered to Leo. "Why not?" Leo muttered, picking at his sandwich. "Because Maya is watching us from the vending machine. She's been following me all morning, asking questions about the migration project." Suddenly, Sarah's voice rose from the table behind you, loud enough for the room to hear. "T, I need those compliance reports emailed to me by 2. Leo, if you spend as much time on your tickets as you do on your lunch break, your AHT wouldn't be so pathetic. Get back to work." It was a perfect performance. Sarah was being a boss, and she was being mean. It should have worked. But Maya walked over, leaning her hip against my table. "Wow, Sarah, a bit harsh for the people who worked a double shift and stayed up all night helping you, isn't it?" The room went silent. A few other agents looked up from their phones. "I expect excellence, Maya," Sarah said, her voice like liquid nitrogen, regardless of overtime. "Of course," Maya said, her gaze darting between the three of us. She leaned in closer to me, whispering just loud enough for Leo and Sarah to hear. "I found a pair of earrings in the manager's powder room next to our office this morning. Black ones. They don't look like they belong to a manager, but I guess they're yours, Sarah." "Yes, they are," Sarah replied. "It was a gift from a friend, and it's the first time I actually wore them, and they made my earlobes hurt, so I removed them when I used the powder room Saturday night. I must have forgotten them beside the sink after I washed my hands. I'll collect them from you when I return to the floor." "Also," Maya added, "I found a wallet on the ground inside the powder room as well." All three of us eyes opened wide. I noticed Leo feeling his back pocket and swallowing with a deep sigh. I didn't get a chance to go through it yet to see if there was a driver's license or some form of ID or bank card with a name to identify the owner. "Just in case you hear anyone saying that they're missing a wallet, you can direct them to me," said Maya. The three of us were trapped in a triangle of Maya's investigation. She knew. She didn't have enough proof as yet, but she was building the case with the evidence she had so far. Leo's jaw tightened. Sarah's pen snapped in her hand. I felt the walls closing in. The perfect coaching session over the weekend was now a liability that could destroy all three of us careers by the end of the day. Maya straightened up, a smirk on her face. "I'll just keep them in my desk drawer for now. Maybe we can all have a private coaching session later to discuss how they really got there." She walked away, the click of her heels sounding like a countdown. The atmosphere at Apex Communications had shifted from a secret playground to a high-stakes war room. Maya wasn't just a regular inquisitive gossip girl. As a QA lead, she had the power to pull any call, any log, and any camera footage. She was the one person who could turn your private coaching sessions into an HR nightmare. We knew we had to come up with a plan, and by 3 p.m., a plan was hatched. in the only way call center employees know how, through encrypted internal messages and 15 minutes break meetings in the stairway. Leo, Sarah, and I couldn't be seen together, so we operated like a tactical unit. As the account manager, Sarah called an emergency meeting for all QA leads in the main conference room. This pulled Maya away from her desk, but only for a guaranteed 20 minutes. Leo used his Tier 2 technical support access permissions to create a fake system alert on Maya's computer. This ensured that if anyone looked at her screen, it would appear as though she was mid-update, giving me a reason to be near her station. My job was the most dangerous. I had to slip into the QA office, an area I had no business being in, and find the wallet and earrings in Maya's locked desk drawer. At 3:15 p.m., the conference room door closed. I saw Sarah lead Maya and 2 other QA leads inside. Sarah caught my eye through the glass for a split second, a look of cold, sharp determination. 3:17 p.m. Leo sent the signal. An internal IM popped up on my screen. "The bird is in the cage. System glitch active. Go now." I stood up, heart hammering against my ribs. I walked toward the QA office, clutching a stack of compliance folders as a shield. The floor was busy, but every pair of eyes felt like a spotlight. I reached Maya's desk. Her computer screen was flickering with a blue system update bar, Leo's handiwork. I dropped a folder, kneeling down to pick it up while my hand reached for the drawer. It was locked. 3:20 p.m. I felt a bead of sweat roll down my neck. I knew Maya kept her spare key in a magnetic box under the desk, a classic call center move. I felt around the cold metal frame. Click. I found it. I unlocked the drawer. Inside, nestled between a stack of dropped calls reports and a bag of plantain chips, was Leo's wallet and my earrings that Sarah had claimed. I snatched them, shoved them into my pocket, and locked the drawer. Just as I was about to get up, a shadow fell over the desk. T, what are you doing in QA? It was Marcus, a CCOD manager. Maya asked me to email her a compliance file before her meeting. I started lying, with my voice surprisingly steady. But her system crashed, so I had to print them and bring them to her desk. I retreated to my desk. The weight of the wallet and earrings in my pocket felt like a well-fought and deserved victory. But I wasn't out of the woods yet. Maya would realize they were gone the moment she opened her drawer. When the meeting ended at 3:45 p.m., Maya marched straight to her desk. I watched from my peripheral vision as she opened her drawer. Her head snapped up, her eyes scanning the floor until they landed on me. She looked livid. But before she could move, Sarah was already behind her. "Maya, a word in my office now," Sarah's voice boomed across the pod. Inside the office, the power dynamic shifted for the final time. Sarah didn't wait for Maya to speak. She threw a folder onto the desk. "I've been reviewing the QA access logs, Maya," Sarah said, her voice a low, dangerous tone. "It seems you've been accessing the security camera archives without a valid incident ticket. That's a clear security violation. It carries an immediate termination penalty." Maya went pale. I was investigating a tip." "You were stalking employees," Sarah interrupted. "And unless you want me to send this report to the regional director, you're going to forget everything you think you saw this weekend. You're going to get rid of any documentation you've made, and you're going to stay very, very far away from T and Leo." My watch vibrated, signaling the end of my shift as usual. I walked to the parking lot where Leo was waiting by his car. A moment later, Sarah's black SUV pulled up beside me. The window rolled down. "She's neutralized," Sarah said, with a small, triumphant smile on her lips. "She won't say a word." Leo laughed, the tension finally breaking. "I have to admit, boss lady, that was a hell of a play." Sarah looked at both of us. "The weekend coaching wasn't quite finished, though. I think we need a follow-up session at my place." No cameras, no QA, no interruptions. I looked at Leo, then at Sarah. The risk had been immense, but the reward, this exciting new bond among the three of us, was more intoxicating than ever. "I'll bring the wine," Leo said, his eyes meeting mine. "And I'll bring the wallet and the earrings," I whispered, followed by a laugh of relief.
Saw you from the beginning. You were clearly out of my league. You didn't look at where I was standing. I thought that we would never meet, but here we are now, two restless souls lost in a room full of strangers. I wanna wash that sad look from your face, and maybe you can keep me away from dangers. Let's sneak out together, baby, and spend some time, just you and me. I wanna set you free when no one else is there to see. Everybody knows you're a lady, yeah. This evening will soon be over, and we'll be back in the roles we played.
The transition from the sterile, fluorescent world of Apex Communications to the warmth of Sarah's penthouse was like stepping into a different dimension. The city lights of the skyline blinked through floor-to-ceiling windows, a far cry from the flickering monitors on the call floor. Sarah had traded her power suit for a stunning lingerie, her hair down for the first time. She looked less like a manager and more like a beautiful, middle-aged housewife. When Leo and I arrived, the anxiety of us nearly being outed by Maya, the adrenaline of the heist for the wallet and earrings, finally began to melt. "To living life on the edge," Leo toasted, raising a glass of Moet and Chandon. "And never getting caught again," Sarah added, her eyes meeting mine over the rim of her glass. Maya was a warning. We were sloppy because we were excited. If this arrangement is going to work, we need a system as tight as our kitty cat, Sarah said while looking at me with a smile that turned into laughter. That night wasn't just about celebrating our victory over Maya. It was about defining the boundaries of a relationship that defied every HR handbook in existence. I was the center of it, the person who kept Leo grounded and the person who saw the softness Sarah hid from the rest of the world. By the following month, the three of us had turned our secret into a masterpiece. The office felt like a game where only us three knew the rules. There was the green light cue. If Sarah wore a specific silver brooch, it meant her office was secure for a private coaching session during the afternoon lull. There was also the IM encryption. Leo developed a browser extension that looked like a standard troubleshooting tool, but was actually a private chat room for the three of us. And we also had the random audits. To keep suspicion off me, Sarah occasionally wrote me up for minor, non-critical errors. It created a paper trail of professional friction that masked the personal relationship. The arrangement had unexpected benefits for the work itself. With Sarah's high-level strategy, Leo's technical shortcuts, and my compliance expertise, my team's metrics skyrocketed. We weren't just the most watched triad in the building, we were the most productive. One rainy Thursday, I checked the queue and noticed a great amount of availability. It was more than the usual afternoon lull in calls. I glanced at Sarah's office. Sarah was there, looking at a report, but she caught my eye and gave a nearly imperceptible nod toward the stairway. A moment later, at approximately 2:14 p.m. an IM popped up from Leo. Just got assigned a hardware check in the basement storage. Sarah says she needs a witness from compliance. You in? I smiled, typing back a quick confirmation. As I walked toward the elevators, I passed Maya. She looked away immediately, her face tensing. She was still there, a silent but constant reminder of the risk we take daily, but she was powerless against the combined power of three.
Always caught in the charades of life, longing for a sweeter day. But this can be our moment. Let's seize it here and now. Let's leave this room full of strangers. Oh, you'll wash this sad look from my face, and I'll keep you away from dangers. Let's sneak out together, baby. Oh, and spend some time just you and me. I wanna set you free when no one else is there to see. Everybody knows you're a lady. Hey, but your eyes keep telling me that there is more to see. Let's make our own destiny. Let's sneak out together, baby. Yeah, it's all I wanna do. Oh, hey, hey, I'm never gonna let you go. Never gonna let you go. I'm never gonna let you go. Never gonna let you go. Oh, I'm never gonna let you go. Never gonna let you go. Hey, never gonna let you go. Never gonna let you go. Oh.